I've never worked out if the zombies are lucky or unlucky because we were around at the right time.
It's the time of the season.
The moment, it was a rainy day. I was driving home. No, I'm kidding. I don't remember the exact moment I heard my first zombie song, but I have so many memories of just really soaking up so much great music, and the zombies being such a big part of that experience of really understanding how songs are crafted and just understanding just the sort of the smarts that went into all these great songs by the band. But I was in high school just really listening to so many great bands, and I just have so many memories of listening to the Zombies music and just kind of freaking out on how good everything is. It's just like it's just really crazy. And making this film, Hung Up on a Dream, I got to kind of just really relive all these great songs. You hear them in the film and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like everything is so good. It's insane, truly. Like it's madness, but they made the music. I'm just here to enjoy it with you guys.
Well, I have to be honest, I was very suspicious of it at the beginning, but not because I was suspicious of Robert. A whole lot of early archive footage got lost because we weren't really managed very well in the early days. And I thought, I don't know how he's going to make a documentary with what's existing. But man, I only saw the completed cut maybe a couple of weeks ago. And it just blew me away. I think it's the most beautiful film. It's fast-paced, it's amusing, fascinating, really moving in places, and it's just a great thing to have. I honestly, I'm saying that with absolute sincerity. I really feel that. Absolutely. And he got some stuff which I couldn't believe. I mean, I told a story in our many, many hours of interviews that we had about, he was asking about our backgrounds, about our parents and, what they did. And I told this story about my dad, who was in, he had his own semi-pro dance band from the age of 17 to the age of 83. And my God, there was a picture of him, a moving picture of him playing. So, I mean, hats off to the guy. Absolutely.
It's brought back so many memories. It's truly delightful, and in very emotional way too, I might say. I've seen it 3 times now, and each time it's got me by the back of the throat. So it's true delight. And what I love about it is now a permanent memory of the love, lives and times of us guys.
I do wonder if fans in general will remember 64 to 67. So I think a lot of it will come as a surprise to them, as it did to us. There's so much in there that I'd forgotten. And it, of course, it all comes rushing back. It's a very accurate description of the journey that the Zombies took. Especially, between 61 when we first got together and 67, and then later on their eclipse of the present incarnation of the band, which started in 1999 and continues to the present day.
And which is very much alive. We've got a new album coming out, which has had the most extraordinary reaction. So, we're hopeful that the story goes on.
The story continues, yeah. Then we can make another documentary.
That's right, part 2. So when the world shut down, I had a Zoom. It was a really great moment just to Zoom with Colin and Rod, just to talk about what this could be potentially. I knew there was limited archival, but I just knew there's such a journey here. There's something here we need to pull out of this, and we can do it within a feature length. And I don't know, when you find archival, I think anyone who puts it's my first documentary. I've made scripted films, but I'm sensitive to what it's like to be a musician and the sort of what you go through when you make music. So having made music so there's a sensitivity to that process. But I think everybody making a doc, it's really, you kind of stumble upon these little treasures along the way, and we got archival in right before we delivered the final version at South by Southwest. So it's challenging, but we had a really great editor, we had a great team who really worked hard to find these moments. Anyone watch, you don't have to be a musician to watch it and connect to it. It's about people and friendship and the emotion behind just following your passion and the luck of meeting people at the right place at the right time. And also I think just even having a band, and I find certain connective tissue that's very similar to what other experiences have been too, outside of just their own story. I think a lot of bands will relate to this when they see this. It's going to kind of really kind of put goosebumps, sort of how you relate to these stories for anybody. So I can say one thing. There's a song called Whenever You're Ready that is one of my favorites, and it's not in the movie, but it's so good. And I was trying to find a spot for it, and maybe after South by we can find a spot for it. But man, that's such a great song, and I really wanted all those moments, but we had to pick the songs that really help move the story along. So you have to kind of make those tough decisions.
There's one sequence where Rod and I do a song called "The Way I Feel Inside," and we filmed this in a beautiful old church, with Rod playing the church organ, which was thunderously loud, but I didn't have a microphone. So when Rod starts off,
I was playing it as quietly as I could. I had the stops on minimum. Absolutely.
And it's a very emotional song. So it's not a song that if you're singing, you can't really project. But I had to sing against this great big church organ, so I'll always remember that. Visually, it looks fantastic. As for a singer, it was a little bit of a challenge, but it was fun.
You rose to it, Colin. Well done, that man.
Can I just mention, whenever you're ready, the reason we did Odyssey and Oracle, which in our short first incarnation, we were only professional for 3 years, but it was because we had become frustrated at the way our singles had recently been sounding, and Chris and I thought, because we were the two writers in the band, we thought we have to try and produce an album ourselves to make something that at least, hell or high water, it's our idea of how our songs should actually sound to go on tape. And that was really the genesis of Odyssey and Oracle. That was the reason we did it. And I don't want to remake Whenever You're Ready now, but that was one of the ones that we just felt could have been much more beautifully recorded, just better recorded. The essence of the song is there, and I'm glad that it got through to you, which is great. But at the same time, we just felt it could have more intensity, I don't know, just a bit meatier. But it's a fairly wistful song in a way, but it needed a little bit more body. That's just a technical thing, really, but that was one of the things about Odyssey and Oracle, one of the reasons it got made. Do you agree, Chris?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. We hardly had any budget to do it, but that's all we had to do, and we very quickly recording. Very fast, wasn't it?
Yeah, we only
and it was
had
on 4-track.
We only had £1,000 budget to do the whole album, so we rehearsed intensely before we got into the studio. We knew the songs, the keys, the arrangement. We're just looking for the performance, and we recorded very quickly with two wonderful engineers, Jeff Emmerich and Peter Vince. And it was amazing going into Abbey Road because the sound, it was so easy. You just had to turn on and go.
It was right.
Yeah,
straight away.
It was never a struggle getting the sound in Abbey Road.
And there was someone in the film that got silent film of my 21st birthday party where we were all singing together, and that was in 1964. We weren't professional by then, were we?
No, not at all.
I love that bit of film. Yeah. I always used to think my vision of myself in those days was that I was really cool, when I was playing. And I saw this bit of a home movie, and I was completely this mad muppet, playing like this. But it was great to see it.
You're still very cool, though.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. What actually happened first of all was that we were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2019, and leading up to that we were doing some extensive touring, and I thought the band was sounding fantastic, and I thought we have to get back and capture some of this energy on tape. I had 2 songs I'd already written, and we tried them out on stage, and we went back and we recorded them in my home studio, which unbelievably was designed by the guy that designed Abbey Road acoustically. It's only small, my studio, but it was done all like that. And we were gung ho to be going. I mean, we thought it was sounding really good, and then of course the pandemic hit with a vengeance, and it left a period of 2 years where things gradually came to a halt, because the one thing that was really important to us was that the whole band should record together. The present incarnation should record together. So you get that old-fashioned joy of a musician working and bouncing off another musician, of Colin adjusting how he was singing minutely to how he was hearing things come back at him, and us adjusting minutely. It was the old way of trying to capture some magic in a particular take, and we were very definite that we wanted to do that. And because of the pandemic, we couldn't, because everyone couldn't get together. But there was an upside to it, which meant that it gave me real peace to be able to write the songs. So in that 2-year period, I ended up with the 9 songs that I'd written on the album, and Colin already had a beautiful song that we finished the album with, which is a lovely sort of romantic goodbye at the very end, and then we had the album. But it was a joyful experience, and some of the initial response to it from the industry has been fantastic. I think it's always going to be the same. I mean, Colin and I only know one way to actually carry things forward, and that's to, as I always like to say, play it for real, be true to yourself, not try and lock into any fashion or anything like that, but just absolutely go with what you feel is creatively a good structure, a good... I was talking to Robert about this earlier, and he says he approaches filmmaking in exactly the same way. You have to get the structure, you have to get everything really working for yourself, and do it with love, and put your whole self inside of it. And I mean, that would be my advice to anyone starting out. Don't try and copy fashions or anything. Just do what excites you, and then stick to it, because if you don't believe in it yourself, you're not going to end up with something that's really good. And you may not anyway, but at the same time, you get to the end of the process and you can look back and say, well, I gave it my best shot. This is, and often I think, my God, I've earned a great living all my life out of being in an industry and doing things that I'd otherwise get up in the morning and pay to do. So I mean, how many people can say that?
I sometimes say to young bands, if they're asking for advice, everything that Rod said, be true to yourself, but also remember that you can have a lifetime's career in music, and I don't think people really realised that when we started. The popular idea was that a band would have a 2 or 3 year lifespan, and then that would be it. But that's not the case anymore. You can have a lifetime's career, and that can change your outlook and attitude, because I think you need to learn everything you can about music and everything you can about the business, and then it can see you through a lifetime's career. If you get too much into the partying side of the whole thing, it's very, very tempting, then maybe you will only have a 2-year career. So I would always say, remember, this can be a lifetime's career if you want it to be.
I think we're all very grateful that South by Southwest programmed the movie, and there are a lot of people out there making movies that didn't get programmed, and I think what's hard is festivals make you feel this sense of like, oh, we did it, or something like that, and on the opposite can happen. If you don't get in, you feel like you failed in some way. But I would just say for everybody watching who's making movies, it's great to be in a festival, but also it doesn't make or break you. Just go out there and keep making what you love to make and finding ways to reach audiences, because there's so many great ways to reach people today. So don't let these moments define you. If you're in or you're out, it really doesn't. Really, it's important just to make things you love and find ways to get them to people.